Tony again with VintageRadioLabels.com, here to demonstrate another version of the Re-Faux Pro faux finish replacement kit on your vintage or antique wooden radio. Thanks for stopping by. This is my Philco 3784 Cathedral, and because of the width of the face of this radio, it requires a two-part decal set, and I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that for you now. Got my decal all trimmed one side here. Go ahead and spray the entire surface. I need my beads of water on top here to allow me to freely move the decal around until it's positioned perfectly. I've got a high gloss finish on top of the bare wood of the radio, of course, so the water's all nicely beaded up. As I said, this is a two-part decal set, so position the first section first, or rather the larger section first. I've painted the insides of all my openings here with a flat black water-based paint, and of course the clear coat went over that as well. Okay, my decal is ready to come off the paper. This is my left side, so I'm going to drape it over from the left. Drag it roughly into position. And shift it around until it's perfect. Paying particular attention to my center line, which should be centered perfectly on my on-off switch volume hole. And of course the pinstripes should be centered on my grill ribs. Okay, see, I've got this pinstripe centered, this black stripe centered on this rib. And that's close enough for the moment. Let that soak a bit while I look this over a little. That is just about exactly where I want it. You notice there's a white border all the way around this decal. Well, this was originally cut right to the color. The white border that you're looking at is actually the paper, the backing paper. And that's showing now because the decal shrinks a little bit once it's released from the paper, once the glue is softened by the water. So that shrinkage, of course, translates slightly into what kind of a fit we get when it's first laid onto the radio. And this is why you sometimes have to work the decals a little bit. That is just about perfect. but I managed to get a huge air bubble right here. And it's so big that I want to go ahead and get rid of it now. If you got an air bubble that big, you can either brush it out or you can just lift the decal and lay it back down again. And you can probably see from that angle that things are lined up just about perfect. We need to move that one over just a bit so that it's centered on that rib. And this is why you want to lay these decals in pretty much immediate succession, because you never know which side you're going to have to move until the whole thing's on there. This is already laying pretty flat. I don't have too many air bubbles, at least not visible. But regardless, as I always say, brush the entire decal, regardless of whether you see air bubbles or not, because you want to make absolutely certain that your decal is in full contact with the radio. Otherwise, you won't get very good adhesion. Now, you're not just forcing out air when you're doing the brushing like this, you're also forcing out excess water. This is why you need to make sure and go all the way to an opening. I've actually got little droplets of water running down the side of the radio here, because I'm forcing the excess water out from under the decal. Now, looking down at the radio from directly above like I am, it looks like all the air bubbles are gone. However, when I look at it from an angle where the light is sort of bouncing off the top indirectly, I may very well find some air bubbles that were not visible from directly above. So I always want to make sure and check. Okay, I'm looking pretty good here, so I'm going to go ahead and blot some of this water off. Go ahead and get that water out of the way so I can see better. Of course, that reveals areas that need a little bit more brushing. Well, as you can see, that those of you who are going to be ordering Re-Faux Pro kits for your larger radios that are going to need 2- and 3-piece decal sets, you can see that it's not a real big deal to apply those. Well, there we go. I'm at a stage now. We'll look at it indirectly again. Make sure I haven't missed anything. Now that I blotted off the water, you can see a couple of tiny little air bubbles here and there. Check again, make sure everything is lined up before I just leave it sitting. the air and the excess water is out from in between the radio and the decal, I'm going to go ahead and let this sit. A couple of hours, or whenever I get around to it in reality. And do the trimming. Trim out the holes and the perimeter of the decal. Now the trimming technique that I use is very specific to this type of application, and you will get a video of my trimming process with your kit. And that's how we refaux a Philco Cathedral radio. Thanks for watching. Take care.